Let's talk about the camera that fits in your pocket. Not this, but this. This is the Sony ZV-1, a pocket-sized camera that is action-packed with everything you need for photo and video. Hey everyone, this is Desmond. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I make videos for creative dads and parents that want to take better photos and shoot better video. And if you want more content on camera gear reviews, how-to tutorials, or how I navigate photo and video as a parent, hit the like button and subscribe for more. So let's talk about the Sony ZV-1. I'm going to talk about the features that set this thing apart, how I use it, and then why I think this is the perfect compact camera for creative parents on the go. First, let's talk form factor, because that's probably one of the things that makes this camera stand out is its size. The thing is tiny. It has an articulating screen. And again, as you can see, when I open up that screen, the camera automatically turns on. I love this feature, especially when I'm shooting photos or videos of my kids. Being able to take this out of my pocket, open the screen up, have the camera turn on and be ready to go is important, right? It's about speed, versatility, convenience that makes this thing a great camera for parents. A few other things to mention about this lens. This is a equivalent to a 24 to 70 millimeter lens. You know I love that focal length. I think it's incredibly versatile for parents, giving you wide shots at 24, telephoto style shots and portrait shots at 70, and kind of all the goodness in between. You've got the variable aperture starting at 1.8, going all the way up to 2.8. Even with those apertures, you're gonna get really nice low light performance. You're going to get great background blur, subject separation, and bokeh. This thing performs incredibly well for a camera of this size. It has a 1-inch sensor. I think it's 24 megapixels. So you're gonna get incredible photographs out of this. This thing can also shoot in 4K. So I'm gonna talk about photo and video features separately. But for now, let's just continue to talk about the form factor of this camera and some of the features around it. You've got a zoom toggle switch that allows you to switch between your 24 to 70 millimeter focal lengths. You've got a large record button on the back. Also, you're gonna find a lot of the cool button configurations you'd find on its larger counterparts. So you've got a wheel that lets you adjust ISO, shutter speed. You've got your menu buttons, your function buttons. I've also got a hot shoe at the top. I believe this one is the digital interface built into this hot shoe, so you can connect some of Sony's newer shotgun mics or their wireless lavalier mics without having to connect it to the 3.5 millimeter jack, which also comes with this. So if you had a shotgun mic or a different lavalier mic that uses a 3.5 millimeter jack, you can do that as well. You've got mini HDMI output. Connect this thing to a monitor, connect it to a laptop so that you can use it for streaming and Zoom meetings. That's what I use. Also, you've got a micro USB port for transferring data for charging and other use cases. On the bottom, you're going to find a 1/4-20 mount, which will let you connect this to a smaller tripod or add a tripod plate. What I did is I added an additional mini cage at the bottom, which gives me a lot more 1/4-20 mounting points at the bottom, and also allows me to access the battery and SD card compartment when I have this thing attached to a tripod or a gimbal. Okay, so let's talk about the photo features of this camera. First of all, this thing has the same autofocus system as a A7S III or an A7R4, which is incredible for something of this size. You're gonna get the eye autofocus, the face detect, the animal and human eye autofocus as well, right? You also get 24 frames per second in continuous shooting mode, which is a little bit fast for me, but again, if you've watched any of my videos, you know that a continuous shooting mode paired with incredible eye autofocus is my favorite way to shoot moving subjects like my kids. A few other things, it is a 24 megapixel sensor. You're gonna get really sharp, crisp photos that come out of this. And then a few other bells and whistles that you'll find on this camera, similar to the larger ones, is you can control this with your phone. You can change the settings. You can use your phone as an external monitor. You can set your different shooting modes and drive modes all with your phone as well. That's just a nice little feature. And again, as I mentioned, with the focal range on this camera, the 24 to 70, you're just gonna be able to shoot everything from landscapes to environmental portraits to just any range of things that you'd like for family photography. All right, so now let's switch over to the video features. Like I mentioned, this thing was marketed as a vlogging / video first camera. Again, I still think it does photography really well, but this thing really shines when it comes to video work, right? You've got that large record button on top. Obviously, this is designed for vloggers with the articulating screen, so you can hold this out and you can see yourself. But a few of the things that are really nice about this camera is that, one, it shoots in 4K at 24 frames per second, up to 60 frames per second. And then also you can do slow-mo up to 120 frames per second at 1080p, which is incredible for something of this size, right? Again, you still get that awesome eye and face tracking while you are shooting video. So for someone who shoots videos of moving kids, you know that the camera is going to do a lot of the heavy lifting. It's going to be able to lock on, track your subject, and still be able to maintain really tight, accurate focus no matter where they go or how fast they move. And I love that about this camera. Some things that are really impressive about this camera is that it has the picture profiles that you would expect in the larger Sony bodies. So you're gonna be able to shoot in HLG, you're gonna be able to shoot in S-Log, which is really cool. So I've used this as a B cam for some of my larger cameras, so I can shoot in an S-Log 2 and still color grade this to look just like footage coming out of my larger cameras, which is really nice. So it's a good amount of features and functionality for something of this size. And also it's a great way for parents that are just getting in to shooting in picture profiles, that are just getting into color grading or shooting 4K video, to really learn and understand how cameras work. And then when you eventually upgrade to a larger camera body or add a larger camera body to your arsenal, you're gonna be really well versed in how to shoot in those different picture profiles, how to expose properly, and just how to use your camera. One thing that this thing has that the larger cameras don't is a built-in ND filter. And that is so useful for a camera like this. For those of you that are just starting out in video work, an ND filter is kind of like sunglasses for your camera. It's going to help block out a lot of unwanted light, especially when you're shooting outdoors or in lighting situations where you want to maintain a shutter speed that is double your frame rate. So that's kind of a golden rule. So if you're shooting at 24 frames per second, you want to try and shoot at 1/50 for your shutter speed. Shooting at that shutter speed though lets in a ton of light, and if you don't have a way to block out that light, you're gonna get really overexposed shots. So that's why an ND filter is really useful. And then the last thing, because of its size, this thing is incredible on gimbals. So you can put this on basically any gimbal. I use this on a Juon Crane M2, which is a much smaller gimbal. It allows me to carry a tiny little package and get a ton of stabilized footage. So now that we've covered the photo and video features of this camera, I'm just gonna say that I highly recommend this to creative dads and parents that wanna get into photography or just looking for a compact camera they can bring anywhere that still has all the features you would expect from the larger cameras like an A7 III, A7S III, R4. The nice thing about a camera of this size is you never have to think twice about whether or not it'll fit with what you wanna do for the day. I can always grab this and throw this in a pocket or a bag. It will always be available to me when I want to shoot photos and videos, and that's kind of the one reason why I bought this. As a parent that's always trying to capture these great memories with my family, having a camera that's accessible and easy to use is really important. And that could mean the difference between capturing a moment and not. So with that said, I think for $800, this thing is an incredible value. You're gonna get a lot of use out of this. And for beginners, you're gonna be able to grow into this tiny little camera. But that's my review. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this content, hit the like button, subscribe for more, and I will see you all in the next one.